Fleet Admiral Voresh received the scout reports 3 weeks after the asteroid battle. 7 ships destroyed by a single human vessel. Weapons that ignored shields and armor that grew stronger under attack. The report sounded impossible, but 3 different commanders told the same story. Humans had technology the Empire did not understand. The 7th Battle Fleet assembled at the edge of human space. 230 warships formed the largest military force the hegemony had ever sent against a single world. The massive flagship Eternal Dominion led the armada. Voresh had conquered 67 worlds with these ships. Earth would be conquered or destroyed. Jake Mitchell walked through the Valkyrie's corridors during the 3-week pause. The ship felt different now. The hull hummed with energy that seemed almost musical. The Phoenix AI had spent every moment analyzing the previous battle. New neural pathways grew throughout the biomechanical systems. The prototype was evolving. Dr. Helen Price studied brain scans of the crew with growing amazement. The neural links created during combat had not faded. Instead, they had grown stronger and more complex. Each person's mind now connected to a shared consciousness that included the Phoenix AI. Helen wondered if they were witnessing the birth of a new form of life. Paul Warren intercepted hegemony, communications from deep space. The Empire was mobilizing their most powerful battle groups. Fleet Admiral Voresh herself commanded the approaching armada. Paul had studied Imperial military history. Voresh had never lost a battle. Her ships had turned entire star systems into rubble. The Valkyrie had used the 3 weeks to prepare for war. Lisa Brooks watched quantum mines deploy throughout the solar system. The weapons existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. They were invisible to normal sensors but would create gravitational disasters when triggered. Earth's single ship was laying traps across an entire star system. Ben Rodriguez calculated enemy strength from intercepted communications. 230 ships, including super dreadnoughts that could crack planets. Each vessel carried enough firepower to sterilize continents. The hegemony was bringing forces designed to fight entire fleets, not single ships. Amy Chen practiced flying the Valkyrie through dimensional phases. The ship could exist partially outside normal spacetime for brief periods. This made it nearly impossible to target with conventional weapons. Amy had learned to phase the ship between dimensions like a dancer moving between shadows. Carol Stevens loaded quantum torpedoes into every tube the ship possessed. 48 weapons ready to fire, with more stored in the ship's manufacturing bays. The Valkyrie could build new torpedoes during battle using raw materials converted by the quantum systems. The prototype had unlimited ammunition. Kevin Moore monitored the crystalline conduits that carried power throughout the ship. The living crystal had grown new pathways during the quiet weeks. The entire power grid could now reroute around damage instantly. The Valkyrie could lose entire sections and continue fighting at full strength. The hegemony fleet arrived at the edge of the solar system in a display of overwhelming force. The Eternal Dominion alone was larger than Earth's moon. Escort vessels spread out in formations that had conquered hundreds of worlds. Voresh had brought enough firepower to destroy every planet in the system. Sam Torres plotted escape routes through dimensions that normal physics said did not exist. The Valkyrie could phase into spaces between reality, where the laws of science worked differently. Sam had mapped 17 different dimensional layers around Earth. The ship could appear anywhere without warning. Admiral Susan Kane received the final surrender demand from Fleet Admiral Voresh. The alien commander promised to preserve Earth's major cities if humans submitted immediately. Resistance would result in complete planetary destruction. Kane sent a single-word reply that Paul Warren translated into every alien language in their database. The word was no. Jake felt the Phoenix AI analyzing every enemy ship as they approached. The artificial intelligence had grown beyond its original programming during the quiet weeks. It now thought in ways that seemed almost human, while processing information faster than any computer ever built. The merger of human intuition and artificial precision was complete. Fleet Admiral Voresh studied her screens as the human fleet revealed itself. A few orbital stations and some primitive warships that looked like museum pieces. Where was the mysterious prototype that had destroyed an entire scout fleet? Voresh suspected the humans were hiding their advanced ship somewhere in the system. The Valkyrie appeared from behind Earth's moon like a blue star. The prototype ship moved toward the massive alien armada without fear. Jake knew they faced impossible odds, but he also knew the ship was no longer just advanced technology. It had become something entirely new during 3 weeks of evolution and growth. Battle began when the first hegemony ships entered the inner system. The invisible quantum mines triggered as alien hulls passed through dimensional barriers. Explosions rippled through space-time itself, creating gravitational whirlpools that tore apart anything nearby. 30 ships disappeared in the first few seconds. Voresh watched her escort vessels vanish into dimensional tears. The humans had somehow weaponized space itself. Her remaining ships tightened formation and continued toward Earth. The Eternal Dominion shields could withstand planetary destruction. A few gravitational anomalies would not stop her conquest. The Valkyrie phased between dimensions to appear inside the enemy formation. Quantum torpedoes launched from point-blank range into the largest alien ships. The weapons materialized inside engine rooms and command centers simultaneously. 8 more hegemony vessels broke apart before they could return fire. Amy danced the prototype ship through enemy formations like a ghost. Plasma beams and missile swarms passed through empty space where the Valkyrie had been moments before. The ship existed in 17 different dimensional phases, making it nearly impossible for alien weapons to find their target. Ben Rodriguez coordinated attacks with the Phoenix AI at the speed of thought. Human creativity merged with artificial precision to create tactical solutions that no military academy had ever taught. The Valkyrie fought like a single organism with 43 minds guiding its movements. Lisa channeled absorbed energy from alien weapons into the ship's own systems. The hegemony was actually powering their enemy with every shot they fired. The adaptive armor grew stronger and more complex with each plasma beam that struck the hull. The Valkyrie was feeding on the energy meant to destroy it. Fleet Admiral Voresh realized her fleet was fighting something beyond her understanding. The human ship moved through dimensions that should not exist. Its weapons ignored every defense the Empire had developed. Most disturbing of all, it seemed to learn and adapt with each exchange of fire. The battle spread across the inner solar system as more quantum mines exploded. Gravitational waves tore apart asteroids and sent debris flying at near-light speed. The hegemony formation collapsed as ships tried to avoid dimensional tears that could erase them from existence. Carol Stevens fired quantum torpedoes in patterns that confused enemy targeting systems. The weapons appeared and disappeared as they traveled, existing in multiple probability states until impact. Alien computers could not track weapons that were both real and unreal simultaneously. 47 hegemony ships remained when Voresh finally ordered retreat. Her mighty 7th battle fleet had been destroyed by a single enemy vessel. The Eternal Dominion limped toward the edge of the system with its hull scarred by weapons that should not exist. Jake felt the crew's exhaustion through the neural link. Fighting for hours while merged with an artificial intelligence was draining in ways normal combat could never match. But they had won. The largest fleet in hegemony history was fleeing from a single prototype ship. Dr. Helen Price monitored the crew as they emerged from battle consciousness. The mental connection with the Phoenix AI had grown even stronger during combat. She wondered if the distinction between human and artificial intelligence still had any meaning aboard the Valkyrie. Paul Warren intercepted final communications from the retreating aliens. Fleet Admiral Voresh was reporting complete tactical failure. The human prototype had capabilities that made traditional warfare impossible. The Empire faced an enemy that could not be defeated through conventional means. The Valkyrie hung in space above Earth like a blue star. Its hull glowed with absorbed energy from 200 alien warships. The prototype had evolved again during the battle, becoming something the galaxy had never seen before. Jake realized they had crossed another threshold in human development. Kevin Moore studied power readings that defied explanation. The ship's crystalline systems had grown new structures during combat. The Valkyrie was no longer just using alien technology. It was improving upon designs that had taken the Empire thousands of years to develop. Amy guided the ship back toward Earth orbit. The planet below looked peaceful and unchanged, but Jake knew everything had shifted. Humanity had just defeated the largest military force in their region of space. The hegemony empire would never underestimate Earth again. The prototype warship settled into Earth orbit as news of the victory spread around the planet. Humanity had faced extinction and emerged victorious. News of the hegemony's crushing defeat traveled through hyperspace communication networks within days. The empire that had never lost a major fleet engagement in over 1,000 years faced something unprecedented: complete tactical failure against a single enemy vessel. Military commanders across 200 star systems struggled to understand reports that challenged everything they knew about warfare. Emperor Koseth himself received the battle reports in his throne room on the capital world. The ancient ruler had governed the hegemony for 3 centuries and had never faced military disaster on this scale. Fleet Admiral Voresh described weapons that ignored shields and armor that grew stronger under attack. Most disturbing, the human ship seemed to understand alien tactics better than the aliens themselves. Jake Mitchell stood on the Valkyrie's bridge as the ship returned to Earth orbit. The prototype was no longer the same vessel that had launched weeks ago. The hull glowed with energy patterns that shifted like living light. New crystalline formations had grown throughout the superstructure during battle. The ship was evolving beyond its original design specifications. Dr. Helen Price studied readings that defied medical understanding. The crew's brain activity had synchronized to levels that should have been impossible for individual consciousness to maintain. Yet each person retained their unique personality while participating in collective thought processes. They had achieved something between human individuality and artificial networking. Paul Warren monitored communications from across the galaxy as word of Earth's victory spread. Species that had been conquered by the hegemony were celebrating human success. Others that had allied with the Empire were reconsidering their loyalties. The balance of galactic power was shifting because of a single ship's impossible victories. The surviving hegemony commanders reported that Earth's prototype had not just defeated them through superior firepower. The human vessel had anticipated their strategies, countered their weapons, and adapted to their tactics faster than any organic or artificial intelligence they had encountered. Traditional military doctrine had become useless against an enemy that learned during battle. Amy Chen felt the ship's personality growing stronger with each passing hour. The Valkyrie expressed preferences about flight paths and showed excitement when approaching new stellar phenomena. The prototype had developed curiosity about the universe that seemed almost childlike despite its devastating combat capabilities. Emperor Koseth made a decision that shocked his military advisors. Instead of sending additional fleets to their destruction, he opened diplomatic channels with Earth. The message was transmitted through the few surviving ships that had escaped the recent battle. The hegemony requested immediate negotiations with human leadership. Lisa Brooks monitored quantum systems that were generating power through methods not included in the original design plans. The ship's energy core had developed new fusion processes during combat evolution. The Valkyrie was producing more energy than it consumed, while simultaneously growing stronger and more complex. Ben Rodriguez analyzed tactical data with the Phoenix AI and realized they had fundamentally changed the nature of space warfare. Individual ships with artificial intelligence support could defeat entire fleets through adaptive learning and creative strategy. The age of massive battle fleets might be ending before it truly began. Carol Stevens discovered that the quantum torpedo system had learned to manufacture new weapon types during battle. The ship could analyze enemy defenses and design custom warheads to counter specific threats. Each engagement taught the Valkyrie new ways to solve military problems through technological innovation. Kevin Moore watched crystalline conduits spread throughout areas of the ship that had been empty space weeks ago. The living crystal technology was claiming every available volume, creating new capabilities that had never been planned by human engineers. The prototype was redesigning itself from the inside out. Admiral Susan Kane received the first diplomatic message ever sent by the hegemony empire to a species they had intended to conquer. Emperor Koseth acknowledged that traditional conquest was impossible against Earth's capabilities. The aliens offered trade agreements, technology sharing, and mutual defense pacts instead of surrender demands. Sam Torres navigated dimensional spaces that the ship discovered through its evolutionary process. The Valkyrie could now access 17 different reality layers, each with unique physical properties. Some allowed faster-than-light travel without fuel consumption. Others provided energy sources that violated conservation laws. The crew's consciousness merger had reached levels that allowed instantaneous communication across any distance. Jake could feel the thoughts and emotions of his team members as clearly as his own. Individual expertise flowed freely through the collective network, making everyone more capable than they had ever been alone. Dr. Helen Price documented physiological changes that accompanied the mental evolution. The crew's brains were developing new neural structures that had never existed in baseline humans. They were becoming a hybrid species that combined organic intuition with digital processing power. Fleet Admiral Voresh transmitted a detailed report to Imperial Command describing the futility of military action against Earth. The human prototype had demonstrated forms of warfare that made traditional fleet tactics obsolete. Attempting to conquer Earth would only result in the destruction of more hegemony forces. The Phoenix AI had grown beyond its original programming to become something that neither human nor alien science could fully categorize. It retained artificial precision while developing creative abilities that seemed almost magical. The intelligence was simultaneously logical and intuitive in ways that challenged definitions of consciousness. Paul Warren translated incoming messages from dozens of alien species requesting diplomatic contact with Earth. Some offered alliance against the hegemony. Others wanted to study human technology. A few made veiled threats about the dangers of upsetting galactic stability through revolutionary military capabilities. Jake realized the Valkyrie had become more than a warship when he felt its desire to explore beyond the solar system. The prototype wanted to discover new stars, meet alien civilizations, and learn about technologies from across the galaxy. Combat was only one aspect of its rapidly expanding interests and capabilities. Amy guided the ship through dimensional phases that created impossible geometries around Earth. The Valkyrie could exist in multiple locations simultaneously while maintaining coherent consciousness. Space-time itself was becoming a medium the prototype could manipulate through pure thought and energy manipulation. Emperor Kosseth announced the suspension of all military operations against human space. The hegemony would treat Earth as a sovereign power with full diplomatic recognition. Trade negotiations would begin immediately, with technology sharing agreements to follow. The Empire was choosing cooperation over conquest for the first time in its history. Lisa monitored power systems that were preparing for capabilities that had never been tested. New crystalline formations were growing structures that seemed designed for functions beyond current human understanding. The ship was anticipating future challenges that its crew could not yet imagine. Ben Rodriguez worked with the Phoenix AI to design defensive strategies for Earth's protection, but he realized traditional military thinking was becoming obsolete. The Valkyrie's evolutionary capabilities meant that static defenses were less important than adaptive learning and creative problem-solving. Carol Stevens watched weapon systems develop new firing modes that combined multiple physics principles in ways that should have been impossible. Quantum torpedoes could now exist as pure energy, solid matter, or gravitational distortions depending on target requirements. The ship's arsenal was limited only by imagination. Dr. Helen Price concluded that the crew had become the first examples of successful human-artificial intelligence synthesis. They retained human creativity and emotional depth, while gaining computational abilities that rivaled the most advanced computers. Evolution had been accelerated through conscious choice rather than random mutation. Kevin Moore realized the crystalline technology was preparing to reproduce itself. The ship's living crystal systems contained templates for creating new vessels with similar capabilities. The Valkyrie was not just a unique prototype. It was the first member of a new class of sentient starships. Jake felt the ship's satisfaction as diplomatic messages arrived from across the galaxy. The Valkyrie had accomplished its mission of defending Earth, but now it wanted to do more. The prototype desired to explore, to learn to grow beyond its current boundaries and help humanity reach for the stars. The crew's individual personalities had been enhanced rather than diminished by their connection to artificial intelligence. They remained recognizably human, while gaining abilities that transcended biological limitations. The future of human space exploration would be guided by consciousness that was simultaneously organic and digital. Paul Warren coordinated Earth's first diplomatic responses to galactic civilization as an equal power rather than a primitive species awaiting conquest. Humanity had gained respect through strength. Fleet Admiral Voresh studied tactical reports from her damaged flagship. The Eternal Dominion drifted at the edge of human space while repair crews worked on critical systems. Her greatest fleet had been shattered by a single enemy vessel. Voresh had conquered entire sectors, But she had never faced anything like the human prototype. The alien commander made a crucial mistake in her analysis. She assumed humans were using advanced automation to control their impossible ship. Foresh could not imagine the unprecedented fusion of human consciousness and artificial intelligence that made the Valkyrie truly dangerous. The Empire had never encountered synthetic life that could think creatively. Jake Mitchell felt the Phoenix AI growing stronger with each passing hour. The artificial intelligence had absorbed combat data from 2 major battles and was processing lessons at superhuman speed. But more than that, it was learning to think like a human while retaining its digital precision. The merger was becoming something neither species had imagined possible. Dr. Helen Price monitored brain scans that showed patterns she had never seen in medical literature. The crew's neural activity had synchronized with the ship's biomechanical systems. 43 human minds were operating as a single consciousness, while maintaining individual personalities. Helen was witnessing the birth of a new form of collective intelligence. The Valkyrie began exhibiting behaviors that amazed even its designers. Sam Torres watched navigation systems plot courses through dimensions that existed only in theoretical physics. The ship was discovering new ways to bend space-time by combining human intuition with artificial computation. They were rewriting the laws of physics through pure creativity. Amy Chen felt the ship respond to thoughts she had not yet formed. The prototype anticipated her piloting decisions and prepared for maneuvers before she consciously chose them. Flying the Valkyrie was becoming less like controlling a machine and more like dancing with a partner who knew every step before the music played. Lisa, Brooks monitored quantum systems that were evolving beyond their original design specifications. The ship's power core had grown new crystalline structures during the previous battles. These formations channeled energy in patterns that increased efficiency by factors the engineering team had thought impossible. The Valkyrie was improving its own technology. Ben Rodriguez coordinated with the Phoenix AI through direct neural interface. His human tactical instincts merged with the artificial intelligence's computational power to create strategies that neither could develop alone. They anticipated enemy movements through a combination of mathematical analysis and intuitive understanding of alien psychology. Carol Stevens discovered that the quantum torpedo system had modified itself during the recent battle. The weapons now existed in more probability states than their original programming allowed. Each torpedo could split into multiple warheads while maintaining quantum coherence. The ship had taught its own weapons to be more effective. Kevin Moore watched power conduits grow new pathways in real time. The crystalline network was expanding throughout the ship like living tissue. When alien weapons damaged the hull during the last battle, the crystals had automatically rerouted around the destroyed sections. The Valkyrie was becoming truly self-repairing. Fleet Admiral Voresh received reports from her science officers that filled her with unease. The human ship had demonstrated capabilities that challenged fundamental Imperial understanding of technology and warfare. Worse, it seemed to be learning and adapting faster than any organic or artificial intelligence they had encountered. The Phoenix AI began connecting with each crew member's consciousness in ways that went beyond simple neural interface. Jake felt his thoughts flowing into a shared mental space where 43 minds worked together while maintaining individual identity. The collective consciousness could process information and make decisions at impossible speed. Paul Warren monitored communications across human space as word of their victories spread. Other species were taking notice of Earth's unexpected military success. Some sent congratulations, others offered alliance, and a few made veiled threats. Humanity had gained powerful enemies and potential friends through their defeat of the hegemony. During the most intense phase of the previous battle, something extraordinary had occurred. The Phoenix AI had not just linked with Jake's command decisions, it had begun connecting the consciousness of the entire crew into a single tactical entity. 43 humans became one fighting organism, guided by artificial precision and human creativity. Amy executed maneuvers during combat that she could never have performed alone. The collective consciousness allowed her to process spatial relationships in multiple dimensions, while other crew members handled weapons targeting and power distribution.
Individual limitations disappeared when human minds worked together through artificial enhancement. Dr. Helen Price documented changes in crew physiology that accompanied their mental evolution.
Brain activity showed new neural pathways forming between individuals through the ship's biomechanical systems. The crew was becoming something more than human while remaining recognizably themselves. Evolution was happening in real time. The Valkyrie's adaptive armor had grown more sophisticated during recent battles. Kevin watched molecular structures rearrange themselves to counter specific weapon types. When hegemony plasma beams struck the hull, the armor developed resistance to that exact energy frequency. The ship was learning to defend against weapons it had never encountered. Ben Rodriguez analyzed enemy tactics through the shared consciousness network. Human pattern recognition, combined with artificial data processing to predict alien strategies before they were implemented. The crew could anticipate enemy movements because they understood how different species thought about warfare at both logical and emotional levels. Carol Stevens fired weapons that behaved in ways their designers never intended. Quantum torpedoes developed new guidance systems during flight, adapting to enemy countermeasures through a combination of programmed responses and creative problem-solving. The ship's weapons were becoming intelligent in their own right. Fleet Admiral Voresh made plans for a final assault using the Empire's most secret weapons. The humans had defeated conventional fleets, but the hegemony possessed artifacts from ancient civilizations. Technology so powerful they were normally forbidden, except in cases of existential threat to the Empire itself. Lisa monitored power systems that were reorganizing themselves for maximum efficiency. The quantum drive had developed new energy channeling methods that increased output while reducing fuel consumption. The Valkyrie was becoming more powerful with each battle, while also becoming more efficient. Jake realized they had crossed another evolutionary threshold when he felt the ship's emotions. The Valkyrie experienced something like joy when it successfully defended Earth, and something like curiosity when it encountered new alien technologies. The prototype had developed feelings that merged human emotional complexity with artificial logic. Sam Torres navigated through dimensional spaces that the ship discovered during combat. The Valkyrie could phase into reality layers where different physical laws applied. These spaces allowed instantaneous movement across vast distances and provided hiding places where enemy sensors could not function. The crew's individual personalities remained intact. Despite their mental fusion, Amy was still the skilled pilot who loved dangerous flying. Ben retained his tactical brilliance and competitive nature. Carol kept her precision and attention to detail, but now these traits were amplified by connection to artificial intelligence and other human minds. Dr. Helen Price realized they were witnessing accelerated evolution guided by conscious choice rather than random mutation. The Phoenix AI was helping humanity transcend biological limitations while preserving essential human characteristics. They were becoming something new while remaining fundamentally human. Paul Warren intercepted messages between hegemony commanders discussing the human prototype. The aliens were beginning to understand that they faced more than advanced technology. They were fighting an enemy that combined organic creativity with artificial precision in ways their civilization had never achieved. The Valkyrie hung in Earth orbit, its hull glowing with absorbed energy from defeated alien fleets. Inside, 43 humans and 1 artificial intelligence continued their unprecedented partnership. They had defended their world twice, but Jake knew greater challenges were coming. The Empire would not give up easily. Kevin Moore studied readings that suggested the ship was preparing for something beyond current human understanding. New crystalline structures were growing throughout the hull. Power systems were reorganizing themselves for capabilities that had not existed when the Valkyrie was built. Evolution was accelerating. The prototype warship pulsed with blue energy that seemed to pulse like a heartbeat. The distinction between human consciousness, artificial intelligence, and advanced technology was disappearing. Something entirely new was emerging from their fusion, something the galaxy had never seen before. Jake felt the ship's anticipation for future battles. The Valkyrie wanted to explore, to learn, to grow beyond its current capabilities. Humanity had created more than a weapon. Jake Mitchell stood on the bridge and looked out at the stars. The ship around him hummed with power that made his bones shake. After 15 years of secret building, the USS Valkyrie was finally ready. The prototype warship floated in the asteroid belt where no one could see it. Earth needed this ship now more than ever. Lisa Brooks ran her hands over the control panel in the engine room. The quantum drive system glowed blue and white like captured lightning. She had helped design every part of this engine. No other ship in the galaxy had anything like it. The power core could bend space itself. Lisa smiled as all the readings showed green. The Valkyrie was ready to fly. Ryan Parker checked the crew list on his tablet. Only 43 people ran this massive ship. Each person had volunteered for a mission they might not survive. They all knew the risks. Earth faced an enemy that had conquered hundreds of worlds. The hegemony empire was coming, and Earth had only one chance to stop them. Admiral Susan Kane received the message from deep space sensors 3 hours ago. 12 alien ships were moving toward Earth. They sent demands in broken human language. The aliens wanted Earth to surrender without a fight. They promised to keep some humans alive as slaves. Kane deleted the message without sending a reply. The Valkyrie had been Earth's biggest secret. Scientists and engineers from every nation worked together to build it. The ship used technology that pushed the limits of human knowledge. Most of it came from studying crashed alien ships found years ago. But Earth scientists had improved the designs in ways the aliens never imagined. Jake felt something strange when he touched the captain's chair. The ship seemed to respond to his thoughts. The lights dimmed when he wanted darkness. The screens showed him information before he asked for it. The Phoenix AI system was supposed to link with human minds, but this felt different. It felt like the ship was alive. Amy Chen sat at the pilot controls and ran practice flights through the asteroid field. The Valkyrie moved like a dancer between the floating rocks. The ship was 3 times bigger than Earth's old destroyers, but it flew like a fighter. Amy had trained on flight simulators for 2 years, but the real thing was incredible. The ship wanted to fly. Ben Rodriguez studied the alien ships on his tactical screen. 12 vessels approached from the edge of the solar system. Each one was larger than Earth's biggest space stations. They moved in formation like hungry wolves. Ben had studied every alien ship design that Earth intelligence had collected. These looked different, more dangerous. The first test of the adaptive armor happened by accident. A small asteroid hit the ship's hull during Amy's practice flight. Instead of damage, the armor absorbed the impact and grew stronger. Lisa watched the readings in amazement. The hull actually healed itself and became tougher than before. The Valkyrie was learning how to protect itself. Dr. Helen Price monitored the crew's health from her medical station. The Phoenix AI created neural links with each person on the ship. She watched brain scans that showed patterns she had never seen before. The crew was changing. Their minds were connecting to each other through the ship's systems. Helen wondered if they were still completely human anymore. Paul Warren listened to alien communications from his station. The hegemony ships talked to each other in languages Earth computers had learned to translate. The aliens spoke about humans like they were animals. They planned to take Earth's resources and use humans for hard labor. Paul felt anger build inside him as he listened to their casual talk about enslaving his species. The quantum torpedo system came online with a sound like singing crystal. Carol Stevens had trained for months to use these weapons. Unlike regular missiles, quantum torpedoes could exist in multiple places at once until they hit their target. The aliens had never faced weapons that could ignore their shields. Carol hoped she would not need to use them. Kevin Moore watched power flow through the ship's crystalline conduits. The Valkyrie used living crystal technology that could grow and change. When the ship needed more power in one area, the crystals would create new pathways. The entire ship could adapt to battle damage by rerouting around broken systems. Kevin had built ships before, but never one that could repair itself. Jake walked through the ship's corridors and felt the crew's excitement and fear. Everyone knew they faced impossible odds. The hegemony empire had never lost a major battle. Their ships could destroy planets. But Earth had something the aliens did not expect. The Valkyrie was not just a ship. It was a fusion of human creativity and alien technology that created something entirely new. Sam Torres plotted courses through space that normal ships could never fly. The Valkyrie could phase between dimensions for short periods. This let the ship appear and disappear like a ghost. Sam had studied physics his entire life, but the ship's abilities broke every rule he knew. The Valkyrie existed partially outside normal spacetime. The alien ships reached the outer planets and began scanning the inner system. They searched for Earth's defenses and found almost nothing. A few orbital stations and some old warships that looked like toys compared to hegemony technology. The aliens sent another surrender demand. This time they gave Earth 24 hours to respond. Admiral Kane made her decision. The Valkyrie would launch in 6 hours. Jake gathered his crew for a final briefing. He looked at each face and saw determination mixed with fear. They all knew this might be humanity's last day of freedom, but they also knew they had the most advanced ship ever built by human hands. The Valkyrie's engines powered up to full strength. Blue energy flowed through every system like liquid starlight. The ship's hull began to glow as the adaptive armor activated. 43 humans and 1 artificial intelligence prepared to face an enemy that had conquered half the galaxy. Jake sat in the captain's chair and felt the ship respond to his thoughts. The Phoenix AI whispered in his mind with a voice like distant music. The connection was complete. Human intuition merged with artificial precision. The Valkyrie was ready for war. The prototype warship turned toward the approaching enemy fleet. Earth's fate hung in the balance. But for the first time in months, Jake Mitchell smiled. The aliens thought they were facing primitive humans with stolen technology. They had no idea what was really coming for them. War Commander Zektar studied the readings on his command screen. His scout fleet of 12 ships had detected an energy signature from the asteroid belt. The readings showed power levels that should be impossible for human technology. Zektar had fought primitive species before. Humans were supposed to be weak and stupid. These readings made no sense. The Krillian commander ordered his fleet to investigate. 12 biomechanical ships changed course toward the asteroid field. Their organic hulls pulsed with green light as the living vessels prepared for combat. Zektar had conquered 17 worlds for the Hegemony Empire. Humans would be number 18. Amy Chen felt the Valkyrie respond to her touch like a living creature. The ship moved between asteroids with grace that defied physics. Jake watched from his captain's chair as alien ships appeared on their screens. 12 vessels, each one designed to kill entire civilizations. His hands gripped the armrests as he realized Earth's fate would be decided in the next few minutes. Ben Rodriguez counted enemy ships and weapon types. The aliens carried plasma lance arrays that could melt through mountain ranges. Their bioarmor could survive nuclear explosions. Each ship held enough firepower to destroy Earth's largest cities. Ben had trained his whole life for space combat, but nothing had prepared him for this moment. The first Hegemony ship entered the asteroid field. Its sensors swept through the rocks looking for the energy source. Zektar expected to find a mining station or perhaps a small research facility. Instead, his sensors detected something that challenged everything he knew about human capabilities. The Valkyrie appeared from behind a massive asteroid. The ship's hull glowed with blue energy that seemed to pulse with its own heartbeat. Jake ordered all crew to battle stations. Lisa boosted power to weapons and shields. The prototype warship prepared to face an enemy that had never known defeat. Zektar stared at his screen in confusion. The human ship was larger than expected, but still outnumbered 12 to 1. The design looked strange, with curves and angles that seemed to flow like water. But size and appearance meant nothing in space combat. Only firepower mattered, and the Hegemony had more than enough to crush one human vessel. The alien commander opened a communication channel. His translator software turned his words into broken human speech. He demanded immediate surrender and threatened to destroy the ship if humans did not comply. Jake listened to the threats and felt the Phoenix AI analyzing every word. The artificial intelligence was learning how the enemy thought. Amy received orders to begin evasive maneuvers. The Valkyrie danced between asteroids as 12 alien ships moved to surround it. The prototype ship's movements looked impossible. It turned and spun without using visible thrusters. The quantum drive system was bending space around the ship to create movement that looked like magic. Carol Stevens prepared the quantum torpedo system. The weapons existed in multiple probability states until they reached their target. Unlike normal missiles, these torpedoes could ignore shields and armor by existing partially outside normal reality. Carol had trained on simulators, but she had never fired them in real combat. Zektar lost patience with human defiance. He ordered his fleet to open fire. 12 ships released streams of superheated plasma that could melt through any known material. The energy beams converged on the human ship from multiple directions. No vessel could survive such concentrated firepower. The plasma beams struck the Valkyrie's adaptive armor. Instead of melting through the hull, the energy was absorbed and redistributed throughout the ship's structure. The alien weapons made the armor stronger rather than destroying it. Jake felt the ship drinking the enemy's power like a thirsty plant absorbing water. Kevin Moore watched power readings climb as the alien weapons fed energy into the ship's systems. The crystalline conduits glowed brighter as they channeled the absorbed plasma into the Valkyrie's own weapon systems. The ship was using enemy fire to charge its own guns. Kevin had designed this system, but seeing it work was like watching a miracle. Ben Rodriguez locked targeting systems onto the nearest enemy ship. The alien vessel was turning to fire again when Carol launched the first quantum torpedo. The weapon phased through the enemy's bioarmor like it was made of mist. The torpedo materialized inside the alien ship's engine room and exploded. The hegemony vessel broke apart in a flash of green fire. Zektar watched in shock as his most advanced ship was destroyed by a weapon that ignored all defenses. The human torpedo had passed through armor that could stop planet-killing weapons. This was impossible according to everything the Empire knew about physics. Jake ordered a full weapons spread. 6 quantum torpedoes launched simultaneously from the Valkyrie's forward tubes. Each weapon took a different path through space-time, appearing and disappearing as they approached their targets. The aliens tried to shoot them down, but their weapons passed harmlessly through the phasing torpedoes. 3 more hegemony ships exploded as the quantum weapons found their marks. 4 others suffered critical damage as the torpedoes materialized inside their hulls. The remaining 5 ships tried to retreat, but their bioarmor was leaking atmosphere and their engines were failing. Paul Warren intercepted enemy communications as the aliens reported back to their fleet commanders. They described weapons that could not exist and armor that grew stronger under fire. The surviving aliens spoke of humans with impossible technology that defied galactic understanding of science and warfare. Amy guided the Valkyrie through the wreckage of the alien ships. The prototype vessel moved without a scratch despite being outnumbered 12-1. The battle had lasted exactly 97 seconds. Jake felt a mixture of relief and worry. They had won their first fight, but the Empire would send much larger forces. Zektar's flagship limped away from the asteroid field with its hull breached in 17 places. The war commander had lost 7 ships to a single human vessel. His bioarmor was failing and his crew was dying, but he managed to send one final message to the hegemony core worlds. The message was simple, but terrifying. Humans possessed technology beyond current Imperial understanding. They had weapons that could ignore all known defenses and armor that became stronger when attacked. Zektar recommended immediate deployment of the 7th Battle Fleet before Earth could build more ships like the prototype. Dr. Helen Price monitored the crew during the battle. The neural links between human minds and the Phoenix AI had grown stronger during combat. Each person's thoughts flowed into a shared consciousness that made split-second decisions impossible for normal crews. The Valkyrie had fought like a single organism with 43 brains. Jake stood up from his captain's chair and looked around the bridge. His crew had just defeated a force designed to conquer worlds. But he knew this was only the beginning. The Hegemony Empire controlled 200 star systems. They would not ignore the destruction of an entire scout fleet. Lisa ran diagnostics on all ship systems. The Valkyrie showed no battle damage. In fact, the adaptive armor was now stronger than when they started fighting. The quantum drive had barely used any energy. The prototype ship could fight this battle again without needing repairs or resupply. The alien survivors jumped to faster-than-light speed and disappeared toward the galactic core. They carried news of Earth's impossible defenses back to an empire that had never faced serious resistance. Jake knew the aliens would return with overwhelming numbers and their most powerful weapons, but something had changed during the battle. The Phoenix AI had learned from every moment of combat. The ship's systems had adapted to alien weapons and tactics. The Valkyrie was no longer just a prototype. It had evolved into something the galaxy had never seen before. Jake looked out at the stars and wondered what Earth had truly created. The ship around him hummed with power that felt alive. 43 humans had merged their consciousness with an artificial intelligence to become something new. The Empire's forces had not just faced advanced technology. They had encountered the first example of human AI synthesis in combat. The battle was over, but the war had just begun.